Welcome, everybody. So glad to be here with Lawrence. Came from the STEM Connect conference a few weeks ago, and I really wanted to just capture this time for us to hear some of the amazing things that he shared at the conference that some of you that attended had an amazing opportunity to capture, but some of us, like myself, Siddharth, and Clarence, were in other workshops or had to do other things, might have missed. And so we're very honored and grateful for Lawrence to spending some extra time to kind of go through his session, and really would love to kind of, if we can, maybe get some special attention to maybe some questions that some of the audience members may have, and understanding like what is beyond hard work and what are some of the secrets to getting noticed and rewarded. But before we deep dive in, Lawrence, tell me, what was STEM Connect like for you? What did you think?
Oh man, I love it. Every time at STEM Connect, there's such an energy at the conference overall, and then even in the workshops. I think the workshops are some of the like you don't see this in anywhere else because STEM Connect, it's not these little quick keynotes. The um, it's the workshops, and they're long workshops that are forgot they 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That really makes the difference for people. You're not just getting inspiration; people are getting real tools that they can use back when they go, to work or even in their personal life. I think that's what makes a difference for STEM Connect and why, year after year, we love doing these workshops because it is about bringing transformation to people, where they get shifted and then they have these tools to bring home.
And I can't help but imagine, I've got a 7-year-old daughter, but you've got one that just went to college, right? You dropped her off. I saw some pictures there. And how do you think for those that are just early in their career would benefit this? And maybe they're not even in STEM. Like, what about the material that you're sharing is going to transcend just people that are just maybe in a certain type of a role?
Yeah, I think, everything we talk about at STEM Connect, it isn't really STEM specific. We might tailor the content in a context of STEM, but I can imagine my daughter finding her own voice at the age of 18, even in college, as she's looking at majors. Um, there's this really cool video. My wife just shared this with me. As we have the changing landscape of college, they were asking like, how would you see college today? And he says, it's build your network now. This is something we teach at STEM Connect, right? How do you have strategic connections? Imagine if you saw college, your 4 years was to build connections or networking in ways that, I don't know, maybe when you're 25 and you need to find an engineer that thinks differently, it's like, oh, that person from college. I just thought that was a really powerful way of understanding, like even 4 years in college. And so everything we're teaching now, you can totally apply even as you're in college, thinking differently about career, different strategies. So I think that's amazing.
And when you talk about that, even for me, my daughter may not know what I'm trying to prevent her from doing, which is getting locked in the future because she's only doing things that she's comfortable for. And I think what I'm helping her to do is develop some of those skills, right? Like speaking up might be one of those things, like communication, or teaching her how to, when she tells stories to me, um, use storytelling with other people to help them to understand and build influence. Because, I coach a lot of STEM-based people, and I'll say like, "Hey, what's your storytelling skills like?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm horrible at storytelling." I'm like, "Well, liar, because you've had the greatest meal, right? Like you might go watch a movie and you're really excited. You can tell a great story, but in the context of moving from personal to professional, it's a little bit harder to do." And so I know when it comes to like leadership competencies, and one of the things that we're doing at SACE is really driving in STEM Connect. What are the key competencies that our sessions are doing? And specifically for you, Lawrence, I saw like three things that you're doing when it comes to leading yourself, leading people, leading an organization was helping people to feel a little bit more confident in themselves, have a little
Mhm.
bit more of a growth mindset in what they do, and having adaptability for themselves. But what this translates to is better communication with the people on their team, using storytelling to help connect ideas with visions that you may have, and influencing them to come alongside towards a goal versus having to coerce people. And I think in data, we can use data and facts and figures to compel people to do things on spec sheets. but also how do we contribute better to a company because we have more visibility? That leaders can say like, oh my gosh, like Clarence, I didn't see that about you, but now I have this gap in my team that I didn't realize could be filled by you. So how do we put you in that space and create a little bit of better strategic awareness for the company to do? So, tell me, like, how did your talk accomplish these things and, walk me
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just share with you on my screen kind of the basic premise that we all started from in the room so that whoever's on this call or watching in the future we can just all start from the same premise. And I wanted people to understand, let me just move some of these windows out of the way, that the STEM experience, we may not be aware of the experience that of that people have of us as STEM professionals. And so you can look at experience as reputation, our voice, visibility, and value. And we kind of polled the room. What are some words to describe how people might view you? These are some words that came up. It's a mix of people in the room, but to expedite it, I also used our friend ChatGPT to help me. And people really resonated with, yes, this is how I'm showing up. And I think people are seeing me this way. And so what I did, I said, what would be a one sentence summary that describes how people experience you in the STEM world? And here's what we wrote, and we actually read this out loud together. So maybe as a fun activity facilitating this room, if all of you could unmute for a moment, and we're going to read this together on a count of three. One, two, three. Here we go. You're
You're
seen as
seen as
dependable,
dependable but
But
not
but
not
not
dynamic,
dynamic,
dynamic, smart,
smart
but
but
not,
not strategic,
strategic,
there we go,
hardworking
hardworking,
hardworking,
but
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 invisible.
invisible,
invisible.
invisible,
You
Get
get
things
things
done,
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 but
but
no
but
one
no
no
one
knows
one
your
knows your
name.
name.
name,
You're
Last one here.
respected but
You're
not
respected,
remembered.
but
but
not
not remembered.
remembered. Yeah, this could be the STEM experience for all of us, that people are having this experience of us and we might not be aware of it. We might feel the effects of it, but we might not be aware of it. And so what we're doing is giving some tools to how you can break beyond this barrier. I'll share one with you. It's a little bit of a complex tool. It's this thing I called understanding your unique value proposition. And so this deals with identity, but also your unique contribution. And if you look at this circle here, there is a problem you solve. I think one of the things that we don't do, not just in the STEM world, but any working professional, we don't actually understand the problem we solve. We always start with my title. I'm a, mechanical engineer, or I'm a software engineer. Okay, that's a title, but I'm not familiar with the problem you solve. When we start understanding how to articulate the problem you solve, you will actually create way more impact. What I was telling people in the workshop is most of the time, managers are really busy. And so they have a sense of what you do, but they don't really know what you do. More importantly, they're not always aware of the problem you solve. We just hired a bunch of people. I have to manage them. When a person, specifically in my workshop, can understand the problem they solve, they're able to advocate for themselves much better. That's the first part. The other one is, how do you solve them? Well, if you're a software engineer, yes, you solve them through some technical ways. What I'm interested in is, how do you solve them in a way that's different from the other guy? The other guy here is the other software engineer who sits right next to you. You could have the same title, the same role, but there is a unique way that you see the world. There's a unique process that you might go through. There's a unique way you might solve them that is just a little bit different from the other person to create a different kind of results. If you could tune into this, this is your UVP, or your unique value proposition. This is what you can advocate in any room with your manager. Gosh, if you're at a table with the CEO, you can talk about not your title, your unique value proposition. So I was helping people understand, yes, introduce your name. You can definitely share your title, but then learn to talk about your unique value proposition. And this could be the game changer for people, to not only be remembered, but really like, hey, this person made a mark on me, and I'm going to remember them because now I know exactly the problem they solve and how to utilize them. So this was a powerful tool that I shared about in the room that I wanted to bring here today, to give that value.
So, do you mind bringing that slide
Sure,
back
let's do
up,
it.
and then I think some of your other windows were kind of blocking some of it for us. So if
Oh,
you
my,
clear that
can
out.
minimize them. Sure.
Yeah. There's some hands and there's a question in the chat box, but really quickly, what do you think prevents people from being able to share their UVP? Because I think when I think about STEM, a lot of times being different is not a good thing, right? Like we don't want to be seen as someone different. There's still a black box in the middle. There
It
it
was,
is.
yeah, it was just a notification, but now it's gone.
So, like, I think, like, how do we see people as bringing your UVP less of a risk? And that it's
Yeah.
okay when you're rejected and your manager doesn't align with you. Like, what does that mean? Like, do we just never raise our hand again? Or, like, how do we learn from these experiences?
Great, great. So the first part of this is you already have a unique value proposition that is already working for you. It's a reason why you're still employed by the company. So there's two sides, right? How do you advocate more of your uniqueness? And maybe that part in sometimes doesn't work out, but there is a way that's already working for you. So I want you to think about what are the results you are already creating that's being celebrated. We all have them, and that tells a story of what you're good at that could be different from your coworker. Maybe they're good at something else. A really maybe simple example is somebody said that one of their unique things, they're early in careers, so maybe not, they might not have all the language, is that they tend to collaborate first before jumping in to solve the problem. They watch other coworkers where their coworkers would just jump into, like focus mode, session mode by themselves and just start writing code or try to start solving the problem. And I'd asked them, why do you think collaboration is more important? They said, well, we can generate the ideas first, get ahead of it, and then create a strategy, and then kind of work on it. The problem with what I've seen is that my coworker is just jumping to solve the problem, but they didn't get all the insights. And so they could be working on it for days and then have to revise it later on. They've wasted all these hours, all this time, honestly, all this money when they could have just learned to collaborate up front. And so that is a unique value proposition. And I would say look for where that has created results that you can celebrate. Now you can tie your UVP to results that have been created. And that can help you advocate for in the future. Again, tie them to results that you've already created and celebrating. And then that helps you also, when you can articulate this, you will also show up more confidently in how you see the world and who you are. So now it's an identity piece and confidence piece as well.
Yeah, so I will tell you, when I interviewed for a company, what you're highlighting is they asked me questions and I didn't even know the job, right? It was before I got the job, but I answered based upon what I knew of the job and what I bring to the table. What was interesting was that once I did the job and I knew more about the role, I did the safe thing and I did what they wanted me to do or I thought they wanted me to do. So I had
Yeah.
no UVP. And this what's great is like you're giving me a framework to like retell the story of what really happened was when my director brought me in is like, hey Jim, I hired you because all these things that you said during your interview, which is what he saw as my UVP. But
Mm,
when I actually executed, I did what he told me to do, and I didn't bring my UVP. And then he basically said, like, you are like, he basically said in a joking way, like, Jim, you're a liar. You said you're going to do all these things in your interview and you haven't. And he did that to like draw attention to like, no, I want you to bring your UVP. Don't be afraid of being your UVP. And when I brought my UVP, Lawrence, he helped me to make sure that it wasn't so outside of the company culture and it was within what the company could do. So it
yeah.
helped shape my UVP in a way. And I think that was kind of important. And then from it, I actually transformed the whole business in that way. And that's what set my career on fire after that
Oh, I
moment.
love that.
Yeah, but before that, I didn't have a UVP. So then there's a question in the chat that Siddharthan asked, and I think this kind of frames it up well. Is like, well, what's the difference between our UVP and our accomplishments? Like for most of us, when we have a chance, we talk about what
Ooh, I
we
like that.
did, but I think there's a little bit of like, does the fish know it's in water? Like it can breathe through
Sure.
water, right?
Yeah.
So how do you identify those things?
Yeah. And do you want me to keep this up here as I share about it?
Is that okay? Or if
Oh yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
just want to make sure that serves it. Yeah. So accomplishments are on the other side. What's happening, Sudarshan, and anybody else watching, is you are intuitively using your UVP to help you to those accomplishments. What you may not be aware of is that you have a UVP, even as you share, Jim, you have it, but in that moment, you were hiding it, or you were just saying, hey, I think I just want to play it safe, because to stand out, I mean, you is a risk, right? And so whatever results you're creating, accomplishments are the product of your UVP. But what we want to get to is actually making your UVP more explicit, both for you. The more you understand your UVP, actually that will help you even when you're 40s or 50s, right? This is where, and I don't want to introduce new content, but this concept of zone of genius is actually based on understanding your UVP over time and experience. So we're giving you language to understand this early career and mid-career, because you can see your career trajectory and why you're creating those results. It is through your unique value proposition, the way you see the world, your unique contribution, your skill sets, but even the way you think is creating those accomplishments. And if you don't know how you're creating it, you don't know how you're actually already setting yourself apart from others. So hopefully that's a helpful way to think about it. Accomplishments are great. They're just on the other side and what your UVP is creating. Jim,
Clarence,
you're still there? There we go.
yeah, Clarence, you had your hand up earlier too. Did you have something you wanted
Yeah,
to?
yeah. I was just, I'm listening here, and Lawrence, obviously I didn't get a chance as I'm running around the conference, right? Doing other things. So I appreciate being able to kind of get a little bit of the recap, from your session. But it's really interesting as I'm listening to this is that, some of us are in front of people a lot, right? I just had I emceed a luncheon yesterday, and I was just talking to college students here in my local area, and the what do you do, it really helps me to frame or think about a little bit differently my UVP, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We can get so lost in jargon. And when you have to describe the problem you solve and how you solve it, it makes it really not just understandable for the person who doesn't understand what you do, but then people begin, just in our minds, we begin to go, oh, and we can think of new opportunities almost intuitively. And that's what you want, right? When you're talking about your UVP to somebody in the room, whether it's a stakeholder or a manager or future position you want them to intuitively go, oh wow, I could see you being great for this, or I could see you filling this gap that we have. That's how you want to use it. But when we just are not aware, we'll just kind of say, oh, I'm a software engineer. And people go, well, I have 100 of those. I don't. Cool, that's great. And that it's a conversation stopper. I want to
Well,
give tools that are conversation starters.
what would you recommend? I mean, because obviously in our professional cohort and network, we have software engineers, we got mechanical
Yeah,
and electrical engineers.
totally.
Some are working in aerospace, some are working in different things, and
Yep.
and they're amazing in their own right. But especially for those maybe in early or mid career, what would you say, or what would you counsel and suggest as like another way of saying, not only do I do this, but
Yeah.
I help do this, right?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
we were able to launch this $500 billion $1 million satellite that now orbits the Earth and blah blah blah, right? That solves for our connectivity issues in
So
Saharan Desert.
Clarence, yeah, you're literally walking that out now. Just sitting through this tool, you're having to think through how would I communicate it. So what you just said to me, I'll just call it a draft one. I get curious on what your draft five is. So what would my counsel be? Is you're already doing it. There's not a you know, do this. It's like, hey, now you understand the tool, get present. What is the problem you solve? And obviously the problem you solve varies from day to day. What is the main problem you solve, if you will? Uh, I built a rocket. That's the product. But what is the rocket? What is the rocket solving? Why did you have to build a rocket? That's what you want to get present with. And then how do you solve them? So yes, you solve them with your skill set. Maybe you're soldering chips, or maybe, and that's what you might say to somebody who doesn't understand your field. In your own organization, you want to share like how is it that you're solving them outside of just the skill set. There's a unique way that you are operating that you don't know is unique to you. It's honestly formed on how you think naturally. It's formed through values that have been cultivated through your family or other experiences you've had. And there's an approach that you have, like almost a modality that you may not be aware of. And what I'm trying to do is expose the things that are intuitive to you, and make it explicit. Even at the top level, a CEO is doing this, right? And so when you have to create like a succession plan, what we're trying to do is create for a CEO what is intuitive to them and make it explicit so that we could put it in the succession plan. We're doing the same thing here. Whatever is intuitive, it's internal, right? You don't have words for it. We're trying to give you words. And so it is a deeper journey, and we're just calling that out. So Clarence, you're doing that and you're at the first step. And I get curious on like, oh, what's the second version and the third version? And then when you practice it with people, you kind of watch them like scratch their heads and you're like, oh, that maybe wasn't the best way to talk about it. And then you revise it over and over again. So that's kind of be what would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
So,
awesome. Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, Lawrence, as I'm looking through this, I see the goal of what I should do in terms of claiming my UVP.
Yeah.
Um, but what are some like practical things that can help me to start bringing this up in my conversations, like my communication? Like, who do I share this with? How do I share this? Like, are there like, how do I build a bridge towards getting to where you are, you know?
Yeah, love that. I think what comes to mind is just what you shared, Jim, because I'll piggyback on that instead of introducing all kinds of other things. You shared that when you finally were able to share at least what you understood at the time, your UVP with your
Hmm.
manager was able to help you shape it in the context of your work. To
Hmm.
me, that's a beautiful picture. I don't know if that's like everyone's going to have that experience, but that is a beautiful way to use it where you can take this, you can screenshot this, everybody, and use this as a tool and say, okay, this is what I think the problem I solve. I think this is how I solve it. You can bring this to your manager and say, hey, I'd love for this one-on-one time to just go through this tool together. This is how I understand my problem that I solve. Your manager might give you insights you didn't have because they see it in a bigger way. You can also share, this is how I think I solved the problem and get feedback. Your manager, again, will give you even more insights so that you could refine your UVP, and then you can ask your manager, how might I even use this in a more helpful way for either for the manager or for the department or organization. And I think that is a maybe practical way you could use this tool just with your manager alone. And there's all kinds of ways I could also see it, advocating for yourself in different ways, but that to me is a really good start.
Hmm. And so, how do I bring this up even to my manager or like add that to the agenda item of our
Oh, I
weekly
love
or
that.
regular conversations, right?
Yeah. So
Really
I'll
getting
I'll
like,
get
you know,
nitty
because it's
gritty, right?
hard, right? Like you have a new tool or you have a new relational dynamic that's going to start, you know?
Yeah. So here's I'll just get really practical. I think
Yeah.
most people don't understand that most managers don't want to be thinking about the agenda for the one-on-one. They don't want to be creating it. They have like a bajillion things on their mind. And they love when employees take agency and say, hey, I'd actually love to create the agenda, generally speaking. They might have some things they want to talk about, but to think of like creating the agenda, it's a lot for a manager.
Yeah.
So I've even told people to say as simply as like, hey, I just came back from the STEM Connect conference. I learned some things and they encouraged me to talk to my manager about that. Would you be open for me to add that to the agenda item? That's a great start.
Yeah.
And then you can even print out this tool and if your time allows, you could say, I'd love to share this tool with you, what I'm learning about this tool, and get your insights on it. That may not be a one-time thing. You may not have enough time to explore it, and you could say, would you be okay with me rolling that over to our next one-on-one? I think this is a way for if I'm the employee, this is a way for me to figure out the best way I can add value to you, the manager, and to this department or organization. I don't know what manager wouldn't want more of that. So
Yeah.
that to me would be the practical steps.
I agree. I think a lot of maybe STEM culture where it's a lot of hierarchy, right? There's a lot of titles and like I have to have this engineering certification and then it qualifies for me to do this. And so if you look at maybe the org chart of a typical STEM company is there's certifications that raise you. Like I remember when I first started, I was like design engineer one, right? And then I got this certification. Okay, I was design engineer two, right? And then there's design engineer master, right? And then all these, and like we're all there like chasing for certifications because that gives you qualification to be able to speak into things. And I think sometimes we think managers want that in what we do, but realistically, managers aren't there to guide you or grow you. Managers are really there to get the work done, is what I find, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
provide reports and metrics upon it. So if I want to talk about UVP, and I like the other aspect of it is, well, if I need my manager to know who to put into the game, right? Like right now it's the World Series, and I'm watching like who do I put in as a pitcher to play against this player? Because here's the situations. I want my manager to make that decision easy for them, and I have to tell them what I'm capable of doing and what I like doing, so that person, when those situations occur, will put me in the game. Now, if you told them once, that might not be sufficient because they're not going to remember and don't like make them go back to their notes. But like, hey, reminding them of what you like to do and what to do will help when those times come that your unique value proposition matches the unique opportunity. And that's what they say sometimes luck is, right? It's opportunity,
Yeah.
preparation in what we do.
Yeah, the other thing I'll throw in there, Jim, is it's one thing if you ask your manager, hey, what's the next project that can help me? Look at the weight we just put on the manager. They have to
Yeah.
scan in their brain what are all the projects I'm aware of, and I have to figure out how to put you. When you understand your UVP, here's what you can do. You can go, hey, this is what I deliver to the team. And then you can think of what are all the projects you'd like to be part of. And then you can just ask your manager, this is my unique value proposition. This is where I think I would give the most value. This is a project that I scoped out. Are you okay with me doing that?
Hmm.
And a manager, in terms of like mind capacity, just has to say, oh, that would be great. Or, no, I don't think that would be good for you. That's all they have to do. You are doing the work for them. And when you lighten their load, you stand out and you make it easier for them. So I want you to notice what that UVP does for you. It helps you do the research and advocate for what you want, as opposed to making your manager having to figure out this whole world of like what would be good for you, and that's going to be a huge differentiator for you.
There's two takeaways from this that I also see. One is this will help me to get promoted, right? Because I am being recognized for my ability to do things that that wasn't seen before. But
Yeah.
some people, it's not about getting promoted, right? It's not about, um, hey, do this so you can get promoted, right? Some people don't want to get promoted. And Lawrence, I think it's really important to also help them to realize this is not about getting promoted, but what's the biggest benefit, I think, and the greatest benefit that everyone gets from doing this?
Yeah. I think, yes, I agree. Like promotion can be a benefit. I think more than promotion is you actually get into the role and job things that align best with who you are.
Yes.
This tool, like a UVP, can help you understand who you are and almost map out a career trajectory that aligns with like not what someone told you, not even a career path that's in dictated by the company. You actually get to map out your own career path that aligns with your unique like way of seeing the world and may get you way further than you ever thought. So there will be almost a deep sense of satisfaction and purpose for you. And science shows us when we have that, our productivity actually skyrockets. And the contribution you bring is going to be greater for the company. Because if you're doing something, maybe it's a missing gap they didn't know about or projects that nobody else cares about, but you love them, you're actually serving the company in a greater capacity. And so you're going to get the opportunities, not just that helps you get promoted, but aligns with who you are. So now we're talking about, work-life integration, we're talking about satisfaction, and we're talking about performance and productivity, which then benefits the company. So to me, it's greater alignment both for you and the company. But even like 5, 10 years out, you can see like, oh, there's career paths that open up to you that you've probably never even thought possible. So it's breaking out of whatever box you started in and beginning to carve your own path.
So tangibly, I'll share my own stories
Yeah.
that tells why Lawrence is telling the truth is because I remember and I'll tell you like some of the struggles I had because there's so much conformity that I felt like I had to live in. Like I had to be like this, I had to be like that, I had to be someone that everybody else matched and everybody else wanted. And so what it did was it put me in a position where um, I remember my team, I was the Excel expert because I knew how to do Excel because in my university, they had an Excel class in order to graduate. And it was like I had to learn how to do linear regressions, I had to do modeling, like everything in Excel. And from it, my team, my manager said, "Hey, Jim, why don't you do this for our numbers?" And I did it. And I hated it, but I was really good at it. And like every Sunday, I really was like not looking forward to my Monday morning meetings because Sunday I had to put these like Excel spreadsheets together. And they took me like a good 3 hours, but it felt like, a whole day was wasted. Like I lost all my energy. And
Yeah.
so I finally, after getting tired about it, I said, "Hey, boss, like I can do these, and I know you like them, and you always praise me for doing a great job, but honestly, this is like the worst thing that I can do. In fact, like here's what I'm really good at. Here's what I really enjoy doing, and if you think I'm really good at this, which I'm not good at, and I don't think I really enjoy doing, what would it look like if you could put me in this position?" And he's like, I didn't realize that. And what I don't realize I did is I did your advice, right? In hindsight, is like, hey, I advocated for what I want to do. My job was better. And I actually fought for something like, hey, I don't know if you have a team lead, but I see all these people on the field. They're struggling, and I think they just need a little bit of coaching. Can I be like a team coach? And can I help the team on their road to kind of help them? Because I know you can't be everywhere. It's like, that's a great concept. And the fear of rejection and not having something available was something that I feared. But realistically, because I brought that up and they knew I'd be really good at it, they actually created that role where the next year was the best job like I ever had with that company. And I did really
Mm.
well. So, that's my own story about this. But I also know, Lawrence, you coached someone that we worked with a client that also had something like that, right? They were doing something that they didn't like and it was at a financial banking company, right? Where had to self-advocate, and because of that, like they actually got promoted from it as well. So, do you want to share that
Yeah,
story a little bit?
absolutely. I think I'm remembering this one. Yeah, I can't remember the role. This is now like 2 or 3 years ago, but I think she was a recruiter and they were being overwhelmed. And is this the one you're thinking about? I think I
Yeah,
called her
yep,
Ariel
yep,
in
yep,
one newsletter.
yep.
I'm trying to get
Sorry to
present with
put
the
you on the spot.
situation. That's okay. I remember I'm not remembering all the details. She was overloaded
Hmm.
and she had to share one of the things we were coaching about is how do you share that because there's a lot of fear that happens with being overloaded but in being overloaded we realized she wasn't just like other HR recruiters in this banking system. There was a strategic element that she had that she probably wasn't even aware of. So this is part of the UVP. We were helping understand like, hey, you have a strategic way of thinking that if you didn't know that, you would just stay at this level. And so when she knew that, she began to talk to her manager, not just about reducing the load. She did that too, but like
Yeah.
what would it look like for her to have opportunities at a more strategic level? Excuse me. So what was really cool is then her boss brought her into these strategic meetings. She was telling me, I'm going to be in this meeting with like some C-suite leaders, just a fly on the wall, but it's an opportunity she never had before. And then they actually started her on like a strategic leadership track that would actually develop her into that program. So not only did her load reduce, right? Just the immediate thing is cool, we'll take off, 50% of your load and give it to somebody else. But she was invited to spaces she had never been part of, and she was being invested in her company like she didn't even know that existed. It'd be interesting to look up now and go, what is she doing now? But I just think that all came from understanding a little bit of her UVP.
And as a manager, why wouldn't I want to put my team in places they can win, right? And rebalance. But like if you don't tell them and they don't know, then you're actually like 50% of the load is probably if was because those tasks were not things that you were good at or you'd like to do, like my Excel spreadsheets, where somebody else could probably do it in 30 minutes, just as good of a job, right? So it's rebalancing the load not by time, but by energy and managing
Yeah.
as a leader in that way.
And I would even add to that, like, I think she was good at the 50% load. And here's that nuance, right? That can take you to the next level. You could still be good at those things. In Jim's case, because I know Jim, I don't think he should be in spreadsheets. But in this case, for this person, they were good at those 50% things. They could take it on. There's a difference between I'm good at them and then this is like where I'm phenomenal. And I think understanding your UVP helps you understand this special sauce, if you will, where you're phenomenal or could be phenomenal if you knew that about yourself. And that's what I mean by it is the beginning point in your career to give you language that can shape where you're at when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, what we call your zone of genius, because most people are in their zone of competence. You're just doing things you're good at, but you may not know what you're phenomenal at. And this is what we want to access in your UVP, at least start you on that journey. So hopefully that makes sense in that regards as well.
Yeah, and the company doesn't know what talent they
And they don't
have.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Clarence, you had some questions in the chat box that talked about passion and
Oh,
energy pop.
I'm going to stop
yeah.
sharing the screen if that's helpful.
Yeah, go
No,
for
I
No,
can't
that's
see any of you
fine.
guys. So, okay, cool. Thank
Oh,
you.
there you go. Hey, Christine, it's good to see you on camera. It's like continue to listen, right? It's just like all these wonderful, like, oh my gosh, if I was able to refine my UPV and my zone of phenomenal, right? And like, oh my God, but when we tell stories about what do you do, right? And these stories, kind of sometimes anecdotally pop up like, I love working with college students and helping them grow, helping them uncover the next chapter that they may never have seen before, right? And just being an advisor or a guide to that. And when you start going down that path, it gets really exciting. And I think that genuine, right, the genuinity, wrong word, but you know what I mean, right?
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's Friday and we live in the US where we make up words all the time.
make up words, right? But that sincere passion, it really comes across, and you're not faking it. They're authentic, right? And so I get excited listening to you because it's like, oh boy, how can I spend time really thinking about this, right? It is really cool. So that's why I was kind of dropping some things, and it's not bragging, right? That's one thing. Actually, I kind of heard it from our community. Clarence brags a lot. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't think I do.
I'll share something from a mentor coach of mine. It's a little bit tongue in cheek. He says, it's not bragging if you've done it.
it.
But then if you look up the definition, it literally is the definition of bragging. So it's like, it's true, but what a helpful mind shift. Like, oh, I'm not bragging. I actually did do it. And I'm just talking about it.
Well, and I think, and I know we very gently touched on this, but there's a cultural aspect to this, right? Is that we're taught not to brag and not to advocate and not to kind of talk about some of our accomplishments that really drive us and get us out of bed, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, no, I mean, if you don't tell anybody in a respectful and kind of nice way about it, then who's gonna tell it for you?
Mm.
And you can see why discovering your UVP is so challenging is you have to be aware of your accomplishments and then you have to work backwards to understand the unique way that got you there, which I think, one way to think about it maybe in the STEM profession is we've grounded so much in like the certifications and the actual skill set that we may not have the self-awareness to know like our full self and getting that UVP. And so part of the UVP is a deep journey into who you are, how you see the world, the value systems you have that shaped you that are beautiful, added to your skill set, or maybe shaping the way you apply your skill set, and then getting language, for that. And I'll share this. This might be a hard connection to STEM, but I did share this in the workshop. For me, it's not sufficient to just say I'm an executive coach because the word coach means a bajillion different things. And so I might be able to say like one way that I really help executives out of um, out of some difficult decisions that they're paralyzed by is I ask provoking questions to push them to next level thinking. That's a specific way, right? Some people don't want that. I'm very provocative in my questions, but I say I'm provocative in my questions because I'm fiercely advocating for your results. That's a unique distinction of my coaching. If I'm not aware of that, I can't communicate that, my UVP, to my clients. And so some people might say, "Oh, I'm an executive coach. I provide safe listening space to help you, whatever that is, right?" And so again, noticing how we're using our UVP, even in a very different profession like executive coaching.
So I'm going to move us, Lawrence, and for the audience to kind of start seeing like what are we doing here at SACE and why was Lawrence on the show? Um, Here is a little bit about what I'm sharing is the STEM Connect, what we say our UVP. What we're trying to provide is a competency-based learning, and we have webinars, and Lawrence is doing his. And I mentioned earlier, and I put in the chat box, like what he's doing for us is helping us to lead ourselves through self-confidence, having a growth mindset and some adaptability, and learning how to communicate some of that storytelling by influencing others, as well as providing visibility, collaboration, and strategic awareness. These are the things on here. And no matter where you are in your journey, here you're coming through us on a webinar. Some of us came through our conferences that we have, and where you are in your career, we want to make this more present and actionable in what we do. And for that to occur, Lawrence, right, there's a learning journey. And so, in a way, Lawrence using this tool, we say is we've gotten some information. And what's very common is that we'll give information out and people will go try it. And realistic, Lawrence, most of us have the fear of failure because the reality is we will fail. We'll do something and do it our own way versus trying to let us learn the way Lawrence intended. And this is why we provide cohorts, right? And our goal is, as we help you to provide cohorts, that we're going to help you to be more aware of these things that you don't know. And in the cohort, we're going to have some time that Lawrence is going to share some of these tools more. And that's going to lead to you hopefully trying some things and watching Lawrence give you some examples and testing you on learning how to do your UVP or learning how to really, I would say, like even just make your mark in your career so people can help you to see who you really are and you can stand out in that way. And from it, he's going to challenge you to try things, and it's going to be very scary to do. And what I've seen in the past for a lot of us, right, is we go this far because we've attended a lot of webinars, we train training sessions, but people don't do. And it's really a lot of reasons why a lot of us still face those ceilings, right? We've stalled out in our career. And technically, you see, STEM people are the worst when it comes to not just career advancement, but career satisfaction, that there's such a high turnover rate when they're not achieving their career goals in 5 to 6 years. So what we want to do is invite people to join a coaching session. And I'm going to ask Lawrence a little bit to share a little bit why this is going to help them to build what we call conscious competency, meaning they're going to be able to do this and they're going to have to think about it, but because it takes time to develop, into what we call an unconscious competency through some one-on-one coaching that Lawrence will provide you. It's really the keys to unlocking what we say a pathway for leadership transformation, not just what these webinars and books and everything else out there that is easily accessible can't give us, which is the competency side of things. So Lawrence, if you can, like share with us a little bit more about your cohort, your make your mark. How is that going to help us to not only understand our UVP, maybe help us to maybe, I would say, you promised us the world if we do this UVP, but how do we make sure that we can execute them the way that you're training us, as well as benefit the rewards of becoming noticed as we learn your secrets and what you do?
Nice. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. Coming out of this workshop is this cohort, 8-week cohort we're calling Make Your Mark cohort, just the title. But I want us to see that even in this webinar, I've only showed you one tool, and we've gone back and forth so many times. Clarence, who is, pretty far along in his career. Clarence, you're not an early career person, had all these questions on like, how would I use this? What does this look like? There's so much to unpack in just one tool. In my workshop at STEM Connect, I shared 5 tools, and so we didn't even go deep into one tool. You have a now cursory understanding of what a UVP is. There's still a lot of work to do. How do you use it? How do you find it? And so, as you shared, Jim, there are these stages. Yes, you have to learn the tool. That's like the first part, but then we have to figure out, where are you going to apply this? Is this in a conversation with your manager? What are you going to say to him or her? What are the contexts, right? And then you're going to spend some time coaching with me, right? If I had more time with you, Clarence, I could help you understand in very clear terms. This is the thing you do that you don't even know that you do, because I see it. And so this is the power of one-on-one coaching. So you're going to get the community, you're going to get the coaching time that is so necessary, and you're going to get the practical steps to know exactly what you need to do this coming week, the barriers that you hit and why you hit those barriers, and then how to do it better next time. So here is a brief, just sharing my screen for what my site looks like. This is my own website that where I put the Make Your Mark. So we'll give you all those links later on. But it is essentially, here's if you want to register. It's an 8-week cohort session. Here are the tools we cover. How do you create maximum value? Communicating through story. This is the third one I shared. Discover your UVP. There's 2 other ones that are really, really powerful. All these tools are really powerful, but I don't want them to be conceptually powerful. I want you to get the coaching necessary. And then I wrote some outcomes. The outcomes for you are listed here. This is what you're going to get out of it. And we also know that maybe if you'd like for your company to sponsor you, I wrote some outcomes that you could take to your employer. Hey, here's what they're going to get out of it. The win for you is a win for them, and we want them to know that. Here are the dates and times. We kick off in January. If this changes, I'll let you know. But right now we have it slated for January. So you have time to think about it, have the conversations, and then put on your calendar. And then we'll get started. And then you can register for the cohort. If you click that button, it'll lead you to a page created by STEM Connect. And just make sure that you're looking at Make Your Mark cohort. I have another one. It's from another workshop, but just make sure it's Make Your Mark cohort. So we're going to do all those things and help you to get connected.
Now, one of the things, Lawrence, I know a lot of people find challenge in
Oops.
trying to drive
Is
this
my screen still there?
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. I don't have my controls anymore, but
It's okay. I'll turn it off for you.
okay, thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. So some of the challenges I know for a lot of us may be is, well, how do I have this conversation with my manager? Or how do I advocate for myself? Or like, the biggest thing that we think in STEM Connect is a lot of times we will get like 360 performance reviews. We will get like year-end evaluations, or we might even have like, assessments that we took. Like I know a lot of people take the strength finders or disc profile. And then it's almost like, hey, Siddharthan, good luck. Like you go figure it out. And I think this is what we really do well at STEM Connect is offering sessions like what Lawrence has to help you to fill those gaps by identifying, going back to like, what are the competencies that your manager or your leader is telling you you need to work on, but then you're saying like, well, I don't know like how to help you with that. Like I don't know what you're talking about. So what we wanted to do was take this last part is like, hey, if you really have identified things in your own leadership that maybe I need this, like I need this because I'm not bringing my best to the business. I'm not presenting myself accurately to my manager. And how do I help them to recognize this as well? Here's the competencies, right? And then here's what we call your STEM Connect Pro Advisor. I'll put the link to this also in the chat box. And what's very important is you do this on your personal computer. Number one, because your company may not allow it because it goes to ChatGPT. But secondly, I think it's part of this idea is like, I want you to own your career, not necessarily your company's job for you. Because this is a leadership skill set that you'll take everywhere along your career. And in fact, it probably will drip into your home life as well. And so, what we've done to help you with this is create this bot, so to speak, in ChatGPT, and I'll test drive it for you. And I kind of pre-ran it to kind of help save some time. Is I uploaded my strength finders. I uploaded a sample leader 360 that was provided, and I uploaded my performance review. And when you put this in, just know that I don't see any of this. This is totally for you. It's closed in the system. And I wrote in here like, hey, I uploaded my strengths and I attended Lawrence's workshop on Beyond Hard Work. It seems like the things that he's talking about is really going to help me grow my career. And then, so based upon these things, can you generate a one-page letter to my manager to convince him to sponsor the cohort that is coming out of the Beyond Hard Work workshop? And the name of that is called Make Your Mark. And one of the things to like also realize is that this is part of like self-advocacy for you and helping them to realize you care about your job and you want to do a better job. And what's most important is to also realize maybe they won't pay for it, but maybe they'll give you the time to take it in what you do. And what you'll see is here's what it'll spit out for you, right? It'll spit out for you to say like, hey, manager, here's your sample letter. And what I want you to really notice is like it's not a letter that's all fluff of like I feel like this and this is what I need, what I want. It really hones it back to like why does this benefit the company? Why does this benefit the team? Why is this really helping me to be a better contributor? And more so, it's unconsciously helping your manager to realize how it's going to help them to do a better job in what they do. And here's a letter. Now, if you have a meeting and you want to like share this in your one-on-one, it could also help you to have a conversation script. And I'll drive this like example here. It's like, I'm going to have, oops, I'm going to have a meeting with my manager. And so, how do I have a script? And just kind of highlight that I'm going to send him an email that talks about this. Right. So, I put something very simple, right? I'm just kind of don't have to have it over processed, but let the machine do all the hard work. It knows what you're talking about. So, hey, here's a quick script, right? It produced it for you. And this is what I'm trying to do. Like, it's as if I was your personal coach and your advisor. It's almost like if Lawrence was there, next to you to help coach you along. And again, our goal is to make your development easier and try to say, like, what can we do to put your career that they want you to own and they've given you all their critique and comments back? How can you take more ownership and take the next step in what you want to do? And that's what this tool is to help you to do. So, Lawrence, anything you want to share more about this or some of the things that it's sped up for us?
No, I think it's great. Again, it's a starting point. The key is not, literally what it spits out. It's a starting point to help you maybe refine it. So I nothing to add, Jim. I think it's great.
Cool. And so, for any of you on the call here, I hope you'll take some time to just read through some of these things. Think about again what Lawrence is sharing with you, and our goal is to say, hey, we're not just telling you to do it. Lawrence is not saying like this is pie in the sky and it sounds great, but is this realistic? No, Lawrence is putting his job literally on the line to say, hey, I'll walk with you on this. Like, test me, let me prove to you we can accomplish this. And the 8 weeks are not like a boot camp of like 8 hard weeks of doing things, but it's taking time for him to share, for you to go practice, come back, share with the group your experiences, but also like provide you one-on-one coaching along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know there's been a lot of content that we did, and I hope that you'll take the time to kind of think through this, advocate for your career. I'll also put my own email address on here as well, so that if you have questions, you can go ahead and reach out to me. More than happy to walk with you after this. And then, Lawrence, do you want to put your contact info in here as well,
Yeah, of
maybe?
course.
Okay.
Yeah. You have my website from the Make Your Mark cohort, but here's my email as well. Hopefully I'm spelling it right. It's my direct email. I'm very responsive, probably respond within the hour. So if you need to reach me, go for it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. So glad to have you on the call. We're really excited to again help you to put your career and feel like you have ownership and you could advocate for yourself as well as take responsibility for your own goals and what you need. Thank you so much for joining us, Lawrence. Thank you everybody else for on the call, and we hope you have a great weekend.